Hello Sioux Falls and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of May. My name is Jason Bieber with the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me as always here is Bradyn, our Planning Commission Chairman. How you doing today, Bradyn?
Good. How are you?
Good. Got kind of another little bit shorter of a month this month, but maybe let's get into the items that we do have.
Yeah, looks like our first item, we have a number of zonings all going into our new Midtown mixed use. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun one for us. This is our second one that will be zoning to Midtown mixed use, or an application to get it zoned to Midtown mixed use. And this would be at that southeast corner of Minnesota and 18th.
Yep.
And then it's kind of that whole block all the way over to Dakota. So kind of a cool project where on the Minnesota side, they're going to look to do a 5-story building, 2 floors of commercial and office and 3 floors of apartments. And then on the east side, that's along Dakota Avenue, actually do some apartments, but it's in the historic district, so make them more historically accurate and kind of to fit in with the neighborhood better. So kind of a project that's been in the works, or that corner's been in the works for redevelopment for quite some time. And really with us looking through specifically this one, really seen some, it's a really good project. I think it'll be such a good fit in there. So. Yeah, great.
Second one looks like a new development out near 69th and Sycamore.
Yeah. So this is way out southeast, about as southeast as you can go. And you're right, just by Sycamore there and south of 69th Street. So this is currently some ag land. So the applicant's looking to rezone that, get it ready for development. This land actually butts up to Veterans Parkway on the south side, so along that, he's looking to do some apartments along that high traffic corridor, and then transition with some townhomes into the existing single family, and then a large chunk of the east side, about a third of it actually will be conservation for a large detention pond.
Sure.
So,
Number 3 looks like rezoning twin home to single family, institution. On your 12th and Spring?
Yeah, so this is an existing institutional use. They're looking, it's part of it's zoned S1 right now, and then they have a parking lot that's zoned RT2. So really trying to clean that up, and then they're looking to do a future edition of this specific use. So.
Okay, sure. The next one, rezone from single family to twin home or townhome, 721 South Prairie Avenue.
Yeah, so this is ones that you guys see, once or twice. Correct. Cleanup of the zoning ordinance and the zoning map, really just trying to match the current zoning, the correct zoning with the current use. This has been kind of a converted house for a long time, just was zoned single family. So
very good. Looks like we have a zoning to some conservation land, probably some additional, just some leftover land going over to conservation as the development changes. Near Marion and Benson?
Yeah, way up in the northwest part of the city, excuse me. Yeah, just some areas that's left over that's probably zoned, a bunch of different zonings that is used as a detention pond or are going to, so they're just getting that to conservation. So
very good. And then lastly, again, the development out near 69th and Sycamore. This is the preliminary subdivision plan.
Yeah, so this will go along with number 2, and it's kind of shows us that preliminary lot and block layout and really where the roads are going to go, the water, sewer, and drainage, how those work. So
very good. Well, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. A little short this month, but like I said, really couple of exciting big developments like number 1 and 2. So some exciting things in our core area, and then some exciting things out in the outskirts, I guess, the suburban area. So it's really great. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
And stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, Diane deKoeyer with our planning offices is going to come back and talk about historic preservation, since May is Historic Preservation Month. So stay tuned.
Hey, this is Seth with the City of Sioux Falls Housing Division. I'm here today with today's Home Maintenance Minute to talk to you about your air conditioner and how to take care of it. So one thing that I like to do once a year is to make sure, first and foremost, that your disconnect is turned off. All air conditioners should have a disconnect on the outside as well as on the panel. So you want to turn the breaker off at the panel, turn your disconnect off outside, and then there's no electricity in the unit. Okay, then if you look on the top, there's 4 bolts that hold this fan assembly on. If you take those bolts out, lift this assembly out and off and over to the side a little bit, just take a simple garden hose and go in around the fins on the inside of the unit and spray water from the inside out. And so if you look on the outside of an air conditioning unit, there are fins. It's much like a radiator in a car, and they get clogged. They get clogged with cottonwood, trees, debris, and leaves and dirt and dust. And simply going in from the inside and pushing that material out with water will clean that up, and it'll keep your air conditioner running much longer. Thanks for being with me today with today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of May. Joining me now is Diane deKoeyer, our neighborhood and preservation planner with the City of Sioux Falls. Thanks for joining us, Diane.
Sure.
As I talked or gave them a little snippet before the commercial break, that May is Historic Preservation Month, so that's exciting. So tell us a little bit about Historic Preservation Month.
It is across the state, actually nationally, Preservation Month. Within the city, we try to just take note of different projects that are going on. One of the bigger things right now is this is the 50-year anniversary for Cathedral Historic District, the first residential historic district in the state. So we're putting some emphasis on Cathedral, but we also are hosting the state conference at the end of May. So we're giving recognition again to Cathedral and also inviting a couple of speakers to join us here. So other CLGs within the state will come and yeah, we'll share information with them.
So you're hosting it here, and what's the date on that?
It starts on May 22nd, but then 23rd and 24th, and it's for members only. There is one event with the keynote speaker, who is Donovan Ripkema. He's originally from South Dakota, but his office now and probably has been in Washington, D.C. for 30 or 40 years. I've heard him speak, and he talks about the economics and the economic impact of historic preservation on community. So yeah, I think that'll be great. And we'll invite not only those involved with preservation, but also like the Chamber of Commerce and the Development Foundation and some of the businesses within downtown, since we have 2 historic districts in downtown.
Okay, so great. That kind of leads me to my next question. How many historic districts does Sioux Falls currently have?
So we have 5 residential.
Okay.
We have All Saints, Hayes, McKinnon Park, Sherman, and Cathedral.
Okay.
And then the 2 commercial are the downtown and the old courthouse and warehouse districts.
So that's somebody petition, like how do you go through the let's say my neighborhood wanted to be a historic, be historic.
District.
Yeah, historic district, excuse me. How would I go about that? I mean, how does somebody do that?
You can petition, you can work with our office, and we'll work with the state. Like right now, we are looking at expanding part of the McKinnon Park Historic District, and I think there's approximately 130 properties that would increase the district. So that would be everything from 4th over to 7th on the east side there.
Okay, gotcha.
Or west side of 7th. So it wouldn't include Avera, obviously. Okay. And then from the boulevard at 21st and then down to 26th. So subdivision, those are all the Baker's Edition, which is consistent with what we have elsewhere within. And there's a lot of consistency with the period, style of architecture, things like that. So it makes sense to do an expansion with McKinnon.
So if you, like you said that this is expanding, I'm assuming in every district when it expands, you probably have a couple people that maybe not interested in doing that?
Yeah, we held, like for McKinnon, we held a neighborhood meeting about a month ago. We sent it out to everybody, not only in the district already, but also those where it would be expanded to. A lot of questions, people that don't necessarily understand. They think it's going to cost them more to do things to their homes, which, depending on what you're going to do. Some people were concerned about control, that they might lose control or the city might have more control. But what's really great with our board is we have a combination of architects, designers, attorneys, people that live within historic districts. So they all give advice. If you come in and say you want to do a window replacement, typically, as long as you're consistent with, you know, the style of the window, like it's a double hung and maybe with a grid pattern, it's no problem, you know, that gets approved without much discussion. But if you're doing, say, a third stall addition, we might say you want to recess that back about 6 inches, just so you can differentiate the old from the new.
Okay.
So
Makes
you
sense.
get, yeah, and we, you know, it's not too often that we actually deny anything. We'll make recommendations and then maybe ask an applicant to come back. But I think it's a pretty good process that we have, and that we try to work with property owners to make sure they're getting what they want. We want everything to be livable. We've had a lot of requests for rebuilding garages. These little tiny garages that we've all had at some point just aren't conducive.
Yeah, single stall garages don't work anymore, right?
No,
when you
they
have like
don't.
19 cars and kids
Yeah.
stuff, yeah. So, so then if these people all decide that that's something they want to do, then does that get approved through council, or does that go
No.
to state, just does all that?
It is, actually, it's by objection.
Okay.
So we need 51%
Okay.
to approve, but the approval is, you know, the letters will go out through the state. And if you don't want your property, or you don't think it's a good idea to be part of a historic district, you can object and return the letter to the state. So it's all based on, as long as it's 49% or
Gotcha.
less, then, yeah,
Then
then it
everybody
would pass.
gets in. Great.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that you talked about that I think a lot of people, and honestly myself, that it costs more to be in a historic district, like you said, with the cost of materials, and that, you know, if you're gonna replace windows, they gotta be historically accurate, whatever the deal is, and they just cost more. But you had said something to me even before the show about this new program you're working on called the Historic Preservation Loan Program, and
Right.
that's just starting up. So tell us a little bit about that
Yeah.
people can apply for.
We just started that in January, so the application period, at least for this year, is closed already. So we started out with a $100,000 budget with the city, and it's a zero interest loan, and it's a revolving program. So the applicants that we're looking at right now to proceed through to loan document phase, writing up all that information, they've gotten bids on what it is that they want to do. So the properties have to be contributing within a historic
Okay.
district. If they're not contributing, whatever it is that makes them non-contributing, they could make changes to. Like, if they've got vinyl siding on the house, they could remove
that
that.
money.
Yeah, and then that way it would also make it contributing.
Gotcha.
But it's just for projects on the exterior of the home. We don't ever look at anything on the interior
Yeah,
anyways. So yeah, really good projects. There's been some window replacement requests, and a lot of times, you know, for wood windows, those are a little more difficult to maintain. A lot of times those are like 100 years old. So at this point, you know, people want to get them replaced.
Yeah.
And we allow replacement for stuff like that. You know, windows, you can do wood if you want the expense and the maintenance, but you can also do aluminum clad or a fiberglass or a Fibrex. And the same with any other thing, you know, materials on the house. You don't have to put back on cedar siding. You can do an LP Smart siding or a hardy board, or, you know, conventional construction materials. We understand that we have to be flexible with today's construction. So yeah, we try to be very flexible that way.
And I think that's what's great then, that there's a lot of options, because
Yeah.
like you just talked about it, and all those options that you're given, and I don't think a lot of people know that. They're just like, what's the benefit of being in a historic district? I just gotta
Yes.
spend more in this and that. So I think that's great, that all those different options. And then, so you said you had $100,000 and the applications has closed. Do you give based on what they're asking for, or do you give, just depends, or?
It depends on the projects. We maxed it at 25,000 because this year has been kind of a pilot. So we wanted to know that we'd get at least 4 projects this year
Gotcha.
to see maybe what works and what doesn't. I think we actually have 6 projects moving forward. A few of them have requested the maximum amount, and others are just doing different projects that don't require as much. But again, it's a great program in that it's a loan and it's zero interest, and you don't have to pay it back until you sell the property.
Yeah, that's nice.
So, you know, if I live another 10 years, that's great, you know. then when you sell the property or your heirs sell your property, then that's when it gets paid back. So it's revolving that way.
Yeah, so there's no monthly payments or nothing, zero.
Right.
That's awesome. That's great.
And it's not income based either, which a lot of the housing programs are, but this is not.
Yeah, that'll be good. Then my kids can pay all that back
That's
after
right.
I'm gone,
That's
and I could do
kind
all
of
the
what
fun
I figured.
stuff.
Yeah.
So you said that this is a pilot this year for
Yeah.
$100,000. And when you talk about revolving, you mean the next year there'll be 100,000, and then in theory you're going to kind of continue to do 100,000 each year.
Hopefully, yeah. We would like to see an increase, knowing that this year there was a lot of demand. I mean, we're spending the 100,000, but we had requests almost up to 300,000.
Okay.
And we didn't get a lot of time for publicity on this, so I think we're going to hear more people interested. But it's revolving in the sense that that money always comes back to the city and goes right back into that pot to then loan out again in the future.
So like 10 years from now, and even if you're only budgeting 300,000 a year, you may have 400 because you're getting the 25 that are, somebody sold their house and that money's coming back for you to disperse out again, which is great. That's kind of nice with our other housing programs. So once this program goes in years down the line, you're actually getting more because that money keeps revolving back in, and so you could.
And then it'll sustain itself that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great program.
It is. I'm excited because we don't really have anything for historic preservation. There's one grant within the state, and that's the Deadwood grant. And that one's pretty competitive, so it's difficult for just any old, homeowner to get.
So would you say, historic preservation within the state, since you said that, is there a lot of historic preservation planners within the state? I mean, at separate municipalities, or is it just really the larger cities that?
It's really the larger cities, it's Brookings, Aberdeen, Watertown, Rapid City, Pierre, obviously Sioux Falls. And the thing is that people that live in historic districts tend to be attracted to the properties there because they're usually well maintained. They hold their value well. I wouldn't necessarily say they cost more, but they are well maintained. So I guess, if you're looking at it that way, just from an economic, it's possible. People are just more attracted, and they are usually centered around a park. There's a lot of aesthetics around a historic district that people like. Yeah,
and I think, the people that live in that historic district too, like a little bit of control or say, and somebody tears down an older, or even if you can, but that they know it's not going to be some 3-stall, 4-stall garage house that looks like it should be in the suburban area, so I think that helps out quite a bit too.
And that has happened, unfortunately. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that case, but I won't get into it. But there are Secretary of Interior standards. They're federal standards that the board follows. So if it's a rehabilitation, so anything to change on an existing property, we just look at those standards to say, okay, you want to be consistent with what was there and replacing consistently by material or look. And then there's also for new construction. So if somebody is building an addition, we look at that. We want it to be compatible with what is there.
Gotcha.
But we also want to be able to distinguish between what was original or old and then what is new. So.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great program and something. It's nice to try something, right, and see how it works.
Yeah, see how it goes. And at least right now, I mean, I'm still getting people requesting applications, and it's been closed for 4 months. So,
So if somebody say does live in a historic district and wants to do some work on the house, is that somebody they should contact you or
a good place to start. Contact me. I can at least share with them what those standards are and what the process is to go to the board. They meet monthly. There's an application usually at the first of the month. So by the time they come to the board, we've had a chance to review it. I share that information with the board so they see that ahead of time. And then when the applicant and or contractor come, they can kind of explain what the project is. And they'll make a determination on whether it adversely or non-adversely affects the historic district.
And they meet
So-
once a month, that board,
They
right?
meet once a month, yeah.
Yep, great. Well, awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to Historic Preservation Month in
I
May.
bet you are.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
Great, thank
Thanks for
you.
joining us, Diane. Just some great
Thanks.
information.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us for Planning Preview for the month of May. The meeting for Planning Commission this month is on May 1st, Wednesday, May 1st at 6 o'clock at the Carnegie Town Hall. And as always, there's public input opportunities with any of the items that we talked about here today. And also there's that 5-minute public input to talk about anything planning related at the end of the agenda. So thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.